Um, Hello, everyone. Powered.Podcast is back. Though I decided last year that I probably won't do English podcast on this channel anymore, but this is a really fun time. Like, we have a really important guest, I guess, to speak. So I decided to do it one more time. Rashad, hello. How are you?
All is good. How are you, Rob?
Yeah, I'm good. Can you please tell me a little bit who are you? What are you doing in Armenia? How have you decided to come to Armenia? Because we have met at Emerge with my friend, and then we talked with for a couple of minutes, and we understood that we do almost the same thing, and that's really interesting. Maybe you can tell how you got to Armenia and what do you do in Armenia and why Armenia. That's very important.
Okay, cool. So, at the start, I'm mostly working with companies as a CTO slash consultant, mostly around AI. I've been doing this for 11 years, not all as a CTO, maybe for the last 4 or 5 years. I've been focusing on tech leadership, and engineering leadership in general. I moved to Armenia around almost 2 years ago. And the reason for this, I was looking actually to expand and explore another place where I can work from, also to be a tech hub. And I can see some potential for growth in this place. And actually, the general startup scene in Egypt, where I'm originally from, was inspiring, like which direction I should take. So I did the usual thing. Usually, people start by going, like Bali, Thailand. So I went to Bali first to check will it be a good spot for this. It was, but it's too far, and there is no like really local market. You would work as a digital nomad, but all your clients would be from outside Indonesia. I went to Germany also, same thing. It has a very good community. It's an industrial hub, but to get your things running, it's not the easiest. Like paperwork, cost, and also like to enter the market itself, it needs more effort than usual. I also went to Dubai. I stayed there for a little bit longer time. It's a pretty interesting place, but I feel saturated. The market there, it has opportunities, of course, and everything, but more or less it's saturated, especially in tech. There is already a lot of competition, and there is not much space to navigate on what I'm doing, which I will be explaining a little bit later. And then I came back actually to Armenia because I visited Armenia before all of them, and first in 2022, and then again in 2023. And I stayed here. Actually, the third time I came, I stayed in Armenia. And the choice for me was, at least for my current stage, it's the optimal state to be, or like the optimal country to be exactly right now for many reasons. For me, first is the community. Uh, Currently, there is an emerging, really good community in Armenia in tech. Both you have startups, you have established corporates, you have branches of international companies. You can also see a lot of local products. It's not only, let's say, outsourcing or only you're working for external. You have a lot of internal like um, products made by Armenian companies. Also, the paperwork and how can I relocate here, open my company, finish my paperwork. It's pretty streamlined, I would say. And I guess the only country that comes near to this is Dubai, maybe at the same like speed and so. And the last is also the location. For me, it's almost central. If I want to go to Europe, it's one plane away. If I want to go anywhere in the Middle East, Egypt, Dubai, and so it's one plane away. Also, not that far from Asia, so it's pretty central to move forward between all of these places. So for me, it was like one thing, and also one like a personal side to it is how I feel towards Armenia. Already in Egypt, we have a considerable Armenian community. I know a lot about Armenia in general. So I'm not feeling here like it's a fully new thing I need to discover, and people are welcoming. I already lived it, so yeah, it makes also life like daily life easier for me. So yeah, the combination of all of these reasons together is why I'm here now.
That's fascinating, actually. For some people, apparently Armenia wins, and that's awesome because I really love my country and I love people around me and the community, and that's why I'm creating some communities, local communities. Thank you so much for explaining that. Um, and maybe you can tell, what do you do in Armenia? What do you do as a professional?
So around 3 years ago, almost 3 years ago, I started an AI studio. I would like to call it this way, which specializes in building and adopting early stage AI products. Inside it, I started by myself, and then now I have a small team with me. We are basically acting as fractional CTOs slash like MVP implementers. And the main goal is you have already, let's say, research labs with all of their work. You have startups that already have funding and they are established. You have corporates, but you have a sweet spot, which I also found very interesting here in Armenia, about companies who are pre-funding, let's say MVP stage, pre-seed stage, and also corporates who are new to AI. Both personas share together that they find a very high risk in adopting AI, and they want to get it validated easily, fast. They don't want to spend a lot, but also they can sacrifice the quality. So what we're trying to do is to help them have this experience, like to de-risk actually their AI adoption. And after they reach a confidence level that, okay, we have an MVP that's working, we have an automation or so that's suitable for our organization, we can start adopting a team and like actually doing the investment needed to work with AI. One thing about this, and also about the fractional model generally, um, there is many people will say, okay, it's distractive. You'll be distracted between many things. But how I view it is, for myself and also people in my team, we don't like to be, let's say, confined by one company, or to have only one company working with. But on the other side, you can go and burn the market and like offer your service at a very low price, because also one thing, it will hurt the branding, hurt the whole community, and the second, it will not get people what they expect. So for me, the fractional model is okay. Most companies who are still starting either to adopt AI as big company or a startup, they don't really need a full-time CTO. uh, One side is budget, and the other is they don't really need it, they need someone to implement. They would be better putting this budget into engineers and then having someone to oversee it. Later, when they have, let's say, their pre-seed funding, they have budget assigned to this, they can hire a full-time CTO. So this part is very, I think, lucrative for them. They can have the same quality, but they don't have it full-time. And for all sides, it's a win-win, and also it's less risky on the other side. So yeah, I believe this is this is basically what I do, and this is also why I think the model, this fractional model, is working. I believe you're doing the same also. So what do you think about this? How do you view the fractional model in general?
Um, I think that. Thank you for sharing first. I think that in Armenia we don't really understand what is a fractional CTO, so there is a problem for that for sure. Um, the other thing is that my company also provides fractional CTO services to a couple of companies, not in the field of AI. So it's more like companies who don't have a bigger budget for a bigger team, and they don't need like a full big development team. And my services are not only with bringing the team, but maybe just bringing the CTO part, because I'm not the only fractional CTO in the company. But yeah, so the fractional part, I think, is very confusing in Armenia. And also, when you are saying about consulting, I think there is a conception of the consulting where the consultant is just like a advice giver, and that scares people. People don't want to invest in advices; they want solutions. And what I try to, I try to now I try to avoid the term consultant because it tends to have this all the negative um, I don't know all the negative like meaning to it. Just a just a like a basically if you are a consultant it feels like you are doing little small things, just advising, but rather my approach is to help companies and people. But yeah, regarding the fractional CTO, I have in my portfolio currently I have two companies, and I would like to know how hard it is for you to find any clients in Armenia. That's one. And second, maybe maybe you can tell which types of projects are you more interested in and what are you doing and maybe more interesting challenges you have right now.
Yeah, sure. Actually, finding clients in Armenia, I would say it's medium um, complexity. Because actually, once people find you or you find the people, it's easy to close, it's easy to start working, but it's hard to find your target persona. It's very hard to find this company, at least as I define them, either early stage companies or bigger corporates who are still adopting AI. People don't go in the internet or LinkedIn and advertise this. So usually you have to go to people, you have to go to events, you have to network to find your customer. But till now, I guess my experience is pretty positive. Once I find the target persona and start working together, of course, it has like the main challenges. I would say, or actually augment one thing that you said about people not fully understanding yet the model, and also confusing it with consultant. Um, I have the same perception. Like, okay, we do say that we are consultants and so, but I don't like the idea of the advice giving or like advisory consultant, because I think at the current stage we're living, it's easy to access this information. It's easy to get millions of resources telling you what to build, what to not build. But the real challenge is to get to market. So this is one thing. Actually, about the challenges that I faced, not only with Armenian clients, I would say it's more global. Um, Sometimes, especially with early stage startups, your job is not only now being a CTO, but also it has a product management perspective or a product management part. Because again, they especially with early startups, they expect both the technical development, also guidance on how to build the product, how to launch it, like the business analysis and so on. For me, it's fun, but also it adds to the challenges we need to solve. Uh, for me, for example, I like to build impactful things, because it's easy to do a hit and run, build something that will not be used by anyone, and it will be an engineering marvel and everything. And it's easy. My GitHub itself is full of these projects, but it's much harder to navigate with your customer and really build something that's needed. And also, one I would say it's not a challenge, but I would say more of the like a tiring part about it, but also enjoyable is every time you work with a new startup, you have to repeat the cycle of navigating the main bottlenecks. Like every startup at the beginning, they have these bottlenecks of okay, when we will be launching. Um, Founders are confused or let's say frustrated. They want to catch the market or catch a specific investment opportunity or market opportunity, and you have every time to educate the people, which is good actually. Every time that we say this, when we explain the complexity, it makes the whole community better. Especially that I can see this slowly changing. People now are starting to understand that it's very easy to build an MVP. It's very easy to build a POC in 1 week, with all the AI assistant tools. But it's very hard to get this to production. Which actually would take me to ask you something. Uh, how hard was it to, let's say, what was the hardest go to production in your current or previous projects, dealing with this model like a fractional CTO developing or like working with a company? How hard or what was the hardest challenge you had going from POC or MVP to production. I guess you're mute.
So basically, what you have said very correctly is the part that people expect. A lot of people who try to hire fractional CTO also expect you to be a product manager and the project manager. So that part I can agree with 100%. I see that in the most of the companies. I see the education perspective for sure. It's a very good opportunity to educate people. Um, Regarding the challenges, I think most companies, though they want to, they really want to have an excellent, let's say, software, but of course, excellent in terms of their imagination, right? Not in technical sense. But of course, the most problematic thing that they are budget cut. So they need to leverage, and it's our job as fractional CTOs to understand what are the most priorities for them and to try to help them to understand what is the thing that is better to spend your money and time on rather than try to do the best technical solution you can ever do. That's one thing. And another niche I found, which I'm trying to explore, and I've done that in a couple of companies. Uh, it's not the general like fractional CTO stuff, but rather trying to convert or trying to trying to um, upgrade, let's say, if there is a technical team, rather than just try to guide them, try to make their processes better. And that's one thing I'm currently exploring. I'm trying to find some issues with development companies with different CTOs, CEOs, with different teams to understand what are the things that because I think that the teams are in most cases they don't have enough time to rework their processes, they don't have enough resources, or they don't have knowledge, or they don't have experience. So a lot of issues are there, and the biggest problem with that is, of course, Armenian mentality, because a lot of companies in Armenia are like more like a family type, let's say, uh, which means that they are more closed ecosystems, which don't allow outsiders in getting into them. Though I think some of them will benefit from a let's say doctor checkup on the company and telling, okay, that there are processes that needs to be improved, or there are some I don't know, some things like organizational things that you can do better. So maybe you have some idea about what I said just now.
Actually, I had this challenge, let's say from a different perspective, because I think it's not only family business related, but it's more about, especially with startups, it's about the founder mentality. I would say people, especially the CEOs, they fall in love with their products or fall in love with, let's say, the idea they're building. So you can find a lot of resistance, and then it propagates to the whole company to change. Maybe you're having a problem with the process, maybe you're having a problem with the product itself, maybe it can be technical and so on. But when you start analyzing and start, let's say, putting a new direction, trying to implement it, you will find a lot of resistance because, I had this said to me many times, like, do you mean we need to throw what we worked on for the last year? And what they worked on, it was good last year. It was good for a specific context. Now it's not scaling. Now it's not delivering value to the other side. But then you will have especially the C level founders and so on, very attached to the idea they built. I would say the problem here, and interestingly enough, it even happened with smaller, early stage companies, people who maybe only raised a pre-seed, or maybe they're still new in doing this. But then again, they fall in love with with what they built yesterday. Maybe it's not fit for today's world for any reason, and they're still having this resistance to change it. And I would say same goes to developers, seniors more than juniors. When you build a cool solution, you build something that you find like an engineering elegant thing, but it's not serving business. Maybe it's not. It's an outdated technology now. You would find the resistance from the teams to change it. I would say even myself, like we have this. We love what we build, so it can be harder to accept that okay, it's not useful anymore. It's not delivering value anymore. So let's upgrade. Let's change. But one thing I'm trying to train myself on, not only company that I work with, is to not take code personally or to not take your processes personally. They're here to serve a specific purpose. If it's not serving, then it's time to change, it's time to upgrade. And this is actually agility, like if you are saying agility. Also, by talking about this, I wanted to ask you maybe about a different perspective on this. When you're, let's say, managing teams or acting as a CTO of the company, um, how do you spot the problems that they have in what most companies will say it's an agile process? Can be Scrum, it can be Kanban, it can be whatever, but most people are not really implementing it in real life. So how do you deal with this? How do you find the bottlenecks in this process?
I can 100% agree with falling in love part, and I think it's a something that we all do, regardless if we are CTOs, CEOs, or just an engineer or someone else. But yeah, it's also probably our responsibility, our fractional CTOs, to try to make sure that people spend time and money in things that really matter. So not rather, because for example, there was a company, and there are a lot of companies that are coming to me and telling about their ideas and what they want to build, and I say, okay, you don't need a technical solution for it, just build a presentation and go pitch. So there is no technical issue with everything you are saying. It's just a of course it's hurting you in the short term, but it also creates relationship with people, and people know that you are not just a person who just came here to take their money. Regarding finding the issues you're telling about, this is one of my passions, because what I really like to do, I like technology and people, and then what I really like is to start digging with people. And most of the time, what I see is most of the people know what their problems, what problems are there in the companies, and I mean, for example, C levels knows for sure. C level knows most of the things they know. Staff knows, like management knows, but of course the most knowledgeable people are the, let's say, the bottom of hierarchy. I don't like hierarchies, but I mean the bottom of the hierarchy, in terms of people who do the job with their hands rather than manage other people, because they are in the battlefield. They know what are their problems, and I see that we most of the time, for sure, there in all the companies, in every company and in every structure, there is a communication issue. That is one for sure. And when I say communication, I mean many things. It can be documentation. Um, it can be just basic communication, like who said what to whom. It can be like this uncertainty of structure, like who reports to whom, when, and how, what are the deliverables, etc. So one of the biggest things are the communication, the comments and the Git commits and everything in between, like Jira tickets and everything in this is just a part of communication. This is universal issue for every company, and I believe that for some companies it's a big issue. For others, it's a smaller one, of course, because they are like fast-paced companies don't have time to optimize. They need to deliver. Um, and another thing I think is what is missing in Armenian ecosystem is testing. Testing in a broader sense rather than just having quality assurance personnel. Just implementing, in many cases, a lot of problems will be solved by implementing test-driven development. And having these practices will help a lot of will have help in a lot of cases. And the third thing which I've seen in a couple of companies is, and I'm sure there are a lot, if there are domain niches in the company, there are problem of knowledge sharing. So there are some key stakeholders who know everything, and there are some people who work on the project but don't really understand how it works or how it should work. And these are main three things. So there are some things in between, like CI/CD stuff, and I don't know, optimizing the server structure and optimizing I don't know, microservices, etc. So, but I want to leave that. These are like three biggest things that I think are most common issues. No, not probably not only in Armenian ecosystem, but probably wider. And what do you think about this?
Actually, I want to augment on the communication problem or the especially with documentation. Because it's not only a problem with smaller companies or let's say early stage companies. You can go and work with very established teams. They have been doing this for 5, 6 years, and you'd find they don't have a coherent documentation. I guess it's a universal problem. It's very hard to keep documenting, but it's also it can become disastrous when someone leaves the team, as you were saying about the key stakeholders or people who build it from scratch. When they leave the team and then no one knows where is this environment variable, what is this, I don't know, like how to set or change the CI/CD, or many disasters happen, and then you would have to try to reverse engineer it, spend more time, more manpower, like trying to fix it. And I believe in the saying that I don't remember the law name, but it's something like that a company is as good, their systems is as good as their communication. So how good you communicate with the team, how good information is retained, how good like everything is in place and you can easily find it, the better your company is. Actually, I worked with a couple of companies just to make their data rooms for the technical teams. So they already have established things like products, but it's very hard to manage the bits and pieces from everywhere. CEOs are aware of what's happening, but they're not aware of the daily details. When someone is taking time off, it's not manageable anymore. So I guess one core thing and one core service actually that's being underserved in Armenia is the service of helping companies with their communication in a technical way, like the technical writer, someone who is able to work with the team, map out all of their architecture and everything, uh, for clarity. For I think it's maybe for an early stage startup, it's a luxury spending. They can't, like, they don't have the capacity to do this. They have to deliver. But if you have an established team, if you have like a more mature product, I guess it would be good to take time at least once a quarter to evaluate what do we have, what do we actually have. Because I saw many instances of a CEO not fully aware of what is in production now. They're not aware, okay, this feature here or not, because also from the dev team, they didn't really communicate what was pushed, how to test it, etc. The second point, which I think also I would like to take it from another direction about rapid prototyping. I guess most companies, especially inspired by bigger startups. So in your ecosystem, let's say in Armenia here, you have many success stories, and younger founders or younger teams think that this product became this product directly, or suddenly they became X or Y or Z of successful products. And this makes a lot of teams spend a lot of time making things perfect, and you fall into the loop of like perfectionism. What one thing I'm trying to do with people I work with is to embrace the idea of rapid prototyping. Go to the market with the minimum MVP, make it fail, make people, let's say, hate it. It doesn't matter, but show something. Iterate again, because also it's very easy, especially when the product management part gets into the mix, for the company that you're working with, to wait, like they are not confident enough, they need to push this even if they have a working version, but they're like, no, it's not market ready yet. So they spend another 4 or 5 months perfecting, and then they miss opportunities, they miss funding opportunities, possible sales, so on. So I believe one culture that
Probably the product may even not work at all. I mean, it may be not feasible for the market.
yes, this is the thing. Actually, if you have budget, especially if you're bootstrapping, and you have limited resources, it would be good to take 1 or 2 months, build the pretty basic, like the most basic working feature or two. Go do user interviews, try to show to potential customers, is this what you're looking for? If it's a no, then you saved already a lot of money, a lot of effort, and try to build the real, or say the thing you need to solve. So yeah, actually, this is thing, and one thing also, I guess it's related to the two themes of knowledge transfer and also the prototyping part, which I've seen, especially this year, a lot in different conferences and events. Um, it's the idea of like build and buy. Everyone is now trying to make the local version, the Armenian version of X startup, which is actually both good and bad, I would say. I would say it's good because, okay, for many of these products, you need a localized version. Things I endorse, for example, is having LLMs that work well with Armenian, because like ChatGPT or so are not that good. So if you have, let's say, things for speech recognition, if you have things like base LLMs made for the local language, for Armenian, for like local usage, this is good. And actually, this is highly endorsed. But there are some consumer products. I say, if the only addition you're adding is to add a local interface, or let's say an interface in Armenian, I don't see this scaling, or I don't see this living a lot, because the other version of the product that has a market in multiple countries will eventually eat you. But on the other side, I really respect the movement of trying to have like the local things. But I think, in my opinion at least, trying to make it into foundational products, let's say models, infrastructure, and so on, and make it available. This is much better because actually you can later sell this technology to other companies who have a multi-country version of a successful app, and partner with them to add Armenian support, instead of trying to recreate it from scratch. And like, again, if we are, let's say, in the whole community, maybe 200, 300 startups, and we have 20 of them trying to build the next XYZ like application that already has other versions, I see this as a waste of our resources. But imagine these 10 startups collaborated and they became 5 or 3 startups, but working on more serious problems. I guess, like, and again, I'm talking as someone who entered the community, and one thing, but I want also to hear what do you think about this. What do you think about this movement, let's say, of building the Armenian version of everything?
Yeah, I want to reflect back to the communication and documentation. I understand for many companies it's not feasible to have documentation because, I mean, some kind of documentation for sure is there. And I think that the best approach, if you, I want to give advice. So basically, if you don't have time to uh, document everything in terms of uh, treat everything that you do as a document of as a documentation, right? Like don't put so it's this is very technical. Basically, don't put assumptions to be there. If you could put some data in variables, so basically if you can show it to people so they can read it, so don't let them guess how it works. Put them in variables. Better to have it as a redundant system rather than make people guess, because if you don't have time to document, you will not have it anytime soon, and once you start onboarding new people, you will have problems. And onboarding and offboarding of people to companies, to projects, this is another really interesting issue, which maybe we will come to in another time. Regarding the local versions, so local versions, I see this in not in only in Armenian community, but in a lot of other communities, and I think the most of it I have seen in Germany. Like for German software, for German hardware, they're really proud that what they are building is local. Not like I've been to a conference where they were showcasing a security Wi-Fi modem. It was just a Wi-Fi modem with a security was that it didn't have any Chinese components. I don't know how much is it true. How much can you not have Chinese components? And they were saying like everything in this Wi-Fi router was produced in Germany. I'm not sure. I don't know how that works, but yeah, I totally agree with the part that building just like another version of Armenian startup, a startup or a idea which is just local, will not gonna work in couple of things, in couple of ways. One is if it's business, if it's just a localized business, like I don't know, Gigi and Uber, or Yandex or something else. Basically, it's more about how how you are doing the business, not how good of a software you are building. And probably you can just find a white label software which just solves that specific problem, and start doing business rather than creating software. And I like this movement from another perspective. I really like the part where, as a let's say community, we're able to deliver products which are solving local problems but going worldwide. For example, last podcast was with Mariam Torosyan from SafeU, and she's doing like women's safety app, and now it's in Iraq, in US, and in a bunch of other countries. We know that GG was scaling. I'm not sure how much it's scaling now, but probably it does. We know that PixArt has, but the PixArt is not a very good example because it wasn't solving local issues, right? It was solving bigger issues from the beginning. So I really like that idea that local things might. Yeah, my son is talking. So basically, local things can solve bigger problems in the world, and we can start like from the local idea, and start to make it bigger going forward. Yeah, I'm sorry. This
Yeah,
is a natural part of being at your home office.
actually, this like local going global is inspiring because, like for the founder doing this, it means that they are connected to other ecosystems, which is something I like. I admire when you have a problem, of course, like I guess most of countries more or less share some fundamental problems. So if you found a way to solve the problem here, you did it well, and then you have enough knowledge and like ability to expand and then resolve it again in another region, in another place. I guess this is the best startup model from the beginning. And I guess second to them comes companies like PixArt, where they are already like on a bigger mission from day one. But I guess these companies are like one in a thousand, because like it's very hard to find a really novel problem that no one is solving, and have enough funding and a good team, and like many things need to align to become like the next unicorn. But I believe it's much easier, and we saw it like also companies like Kareem, companies like yeah, Kareem is a good example. Like they started locally and now they're serving multiple places with the same idea. So I guess this is one of the best models to work with. And actually, this will bring me to let's say a supporting idea, or like a supporting theme to this. How can you, as a fractional CTO, when you're working with different cultures? Now, I'm not only talking about um different companies at the same country, but also teams with different, like when you have a multinational team, when you're working with a company that have multiple branches, or you have a client from outside, and so on. How do you handle the differences? Like there are individual differences in the level of team and the level of like everyone's culture on how they approach some issues. One of them is communication, by the way. Like I would say the way that Egyptians and Armenian communicate in is very weird to a German, the general way. But again, if you have a team that has Egyptians, Armenians, Germans, English, Americans, and like you have 6, 7, especially when you're in the leadership position, and I would say more specifically when you're fractional, you don't have your 8 hours with them. How can you align everyone on a common culture, with communication, with like also regarding putting rules and processes and so on. So did you actually had a problem like this? How did you solve it?
Yeah, my understanding of culture is like this. There are people who are more, for sure, more knowledgeable about culture in companies. But my understanding about culture as a whole is like this. So basically, when you have a team or a country, it doesn't matter, a bunch of people, like let's say community. Let's call every company a, I don't know, country or whatever, a community. And if we call it a community, then community itself has a culture which exists. If you want it or not, it exists. It has some culture. Once you start adding or removing people, culture starts to change. So basically, you can think of a culture like a way, if it's a liquid, when you're adding another liquid in it, so it's mixing. And of course, people with different cultures, if they for some reason work in the same company, or like if that happened already, they are bringing their cultures with them. It might be their previous experiences, it might be their personalities, and of course there will be issues with them. And my approach with resolving cultural differences, it's communication, of course, and getting people to express their opinions, capture the baseline, like what do they believe in, what does a business owner want them to believe in. Like if you have a baseline, then you have a target, you know where to move. And then if you are going to change a culture in some way. So if you are going to make something a culture rather than a policy, you need to get everyone on board. And for me, the best tool is, uh, I would repeat myself, documentation. Just writing, if we are going to speak about something that we are going to keep, if we want it to be a part of our culture, we need to document it. We need to keep it somewhere. It's not a policy. Nobody is going to punish you not to follow it, but rather a documentation where I can point new people like, okay, this is what we believe. This is what we do in order to make our work cohesive. So this is my approach. Maybe you can tell about yours.
So actually, I have a similar approach to this, but I try first to, especially when I'm new to the team, and it's an established team also. I try first to build a personal connection with everyone. So I would usually start with one-to-ones, especially like in my first week or so, get to know like what everyone is having, talking openly about the problem that is currently in the organization or the company, and then based on this, like when everyone is already having this trustful link with me, we can start having a roundtable discussion. And I encourage it, like, okay, let's talk about problems. And one of the things I noticed, especially with more junior people and in bigger companies, people would say, there's no problem and we are satisfied, that's good. My belief, if there is no problem, I'm not needed here. If there is no problem, I guess this company is not needed here. Like every company is solving something, and leadership is here to constantly improve. So if you're like as a team thinking that you don't have any problem, all is well, then why do you need a leadership? You can continue already. And actually, this is the hardest part is to get people to be not defensive about it. So yeah, we have a problem, let's say, with meeting timing. We have a problem with how we discuss features, how we build our sprints, many things. And to get people to talk about it and not take it personal, I guess this is the hardest step. And as you said, I prefer also to build it as a culture, not a policy, because it's easy. Like when you put it as a policy, many people will view it as a challenge. So it's easy to bypass it. It's easy to work around it. But when you say, okay, this is to make us all productive, make us all comfortable, and people believe in this, they will automatically do it. And again, we are all adults. We're not running after each other, and we are all here to build something meaningful. So I guess this is the baseline that I myself try to create. And actually, from this, I want to ask you about something. Generally speaking, I know it's not uh, putting stereotypes as much, but which environment do you prefer better when you're working? Is it smaller teams in fast-moving products, or established companies, maybe with bigger teams with defined processes for everything? Which one makes you more comfortable doing your job every day?
I love chaos. I really love chaos. I want chaos. I want to make order. I love how uh, fast can become slow. How and I want to add one more thing, but regarding what you said, but I want to say this. I want what is my dream. Of course, is chaos. I love making order where there is no order. I love finding ways where people don't see ways. This is my passion. This is what I really like doing. I love solving hard problems, people and technology problems where um, some will say that it's not needed even. So I mean, if and that's the point I was going to come. And the biggest problem with CTO stuff, fractional CTO, let it be, or any consultant stuff, is people need to understand they have problem, and if they don't have problem and they don't think they have problem, you cannot help them. This is really important learning that I've done during my last couple of months. Um, So maybe you can answer the same question, and maybe we can wrap up because we don't have much time anymore.
Yeah. So I guess also for me, I like to be an early adopter. Actually, it happened during my whole career, maybe like I don't know, 7 out of 8 times that I was the first or second engineer in a team, even before becoming, let's say, in leadership position. It just happened, and I like this environment. Even when I went in a corporate position, they were making a new team, and I was hired like as one of the first few engineers in the team. I like what you said about chaos becoming order. I like the same idea, but not only with chaos, but like one thing I like about software in general is you start with nothing, zero, a blank page, and then you start having value. You start, actually for me, and also like I studied electronics in college, so coming from a place and seeing people around me who to create something, they have to put something. They have you have to have like electronic components. You have to have bumps, whatever. Software is more magical to me because you can build from zero. You literally need a laptop with an internet connection and you build stuff. And this is for me the thing that you can't find in bigger companies or bigger teams because it's already built. You will be mostly adding one or two features. You will be like doing this, but imagine every few months you're building something new. You're getting it. It never gets boring to me. Like that after 3 or 4 months you get your first customer. After 3 or 4 months you get your first like signups. This feeling is always it's always good. Like it never gets old. So yeah, I guess this is it from my side.
Thank you so much for this conversation. I really enjoyed it, and
Me too.
this is very important for me. So I do podcasts that I enjoy, and I love doing this. And I'm thankful for your time. Thanks again for coming, and I hope to see you in next episodes.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Okay.